Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever since I posted anything. It's been about 2 years. I can explain. I can explain. I stopped doing YouTube 2 years ago because it just wasn't working out, and it just felt so overwhelming to me at the time. And the reason why I started the channel either way is because we were peak into COVID, and we were all locked in the houses, and there was nothing much to do than to spend time with family or be on your phone. So I used YouTube as like an entertainment tool to help me get through that time. And then I stopped because it just didn't feel right anymore to me. But here I am again, posting and shooting a video. But this video is a little different to everything else that I've produced in the past, because this one is more close to my heart, and it's something that I've always wanted to talk about from a while ago. I've been procrastinating shooting this video, but here I am today. I need all the strength I can get to actually like get through this video. But as you can see from the title, today's video is just merely me sharing my experience of giving birth at a public hospital. Okay, before I start, I just want to make like a small disclaimer that I will be drinking some cranberry juice from time to time. Where do I even start? Where do I even start? Oh, so overwhelming. Jeez. Okay. I'm start from the beginning, right? So when I found out that I was pregnant, I was very happy, but obviously there were certain things that I had to think about in the same time, because as much as we have been talking about having a child, it was just talk, and we didn't really like plan ahead for one. So things like medical aid and all those things weren't really prepared for the pregnancy. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I quickly called my father, and I wanted to check if everything is in order with regards to medical aid, because I was on my dad's medical aid. And he told me that no, I shouldn't worry, because he just renewed the medical aid, because with my dad, he had just left one job to another. So when you leave the one job, you cancel your previous medical aid, and then you open a new medical aid when you get to the next job, to the next job. So he's like, no, you're covered, because I have medical aid and you're on it. Then I was like, okay, I was relieved. Then I decided, let me call this medical aid and check if everything is fine. You want to know what they cover, you want to know like the benefits and everything, so that you prepare ahead. So then I call this medical aid, and they tell me that, listen, there's a waiting period for such things, for any pregnancy related things. There's a waiting period of 9 months. And I'm just like, what is this? That's like just basically the entire pregnancy, a waiting period of 9 months. That is insane. And I was devastated. I didn't even know what to do. But this is information that most people, I would assume, do know, because I know it. I know about it now, and I feel stupid now for not knowing about it then. But there are some people that still don't know that if you have a new medical aid now, there's definitely waiting periods. But like for pregnancy related things, it's ridiculous. It's like from 9 to 12 months waiting period, of which makes sense. I get where the logic comes from, but at the time I did not know that information. So I just feel like I should have known this before, But so then it dawned to me that actually that means my pregnancy is not going to be as easy as I thought it would be, because now it's either I have to pay for my medical expenses or I use public hospital. And yeah, I had to like I had to register it in my head and make peace with it, because then it was like something that was very frustrating for me. But I decided, you know what, it's fine. I will like choose to do public hospital. And with my antenatal visits, I was going to a public clinic. However, I would visit my private doctor from time to time during the pregnancy, because that didn't have like a waiting period of 9 months. So I was able to still see a private doctor during that period, but I just couldn't do other stuff that are pregnancy related, right? So, okay, fine. That means now I had to also accept the fact that I'm going to give birth at a public hospital, which wasn't too bad. I did ask around with people who have done that before. I did get like positive feedback, and sometimes it was negative, but I just was praying that with my experience, it's much better than what people say it to be. Okay, so now we move fast forward to the day my water broke, right? So I was sleeping in the middle of the night, or maybe like early in the morning around 5ish. I woke up to go pee because I just was pressed, and then I went to the toilet. I peed. When I came back to the bed, I could feel that, no man, like there's some sort of water going on here, and I'm very sure that I wiped myself properly, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I was like, okay, let me wipe myself again. I wiped myself again. I got on the bed, and then like I could still feel like just water, not too much. It felt like discharge. It felt like discharge, and it's a lot of discharge, right? That's what it felt like. And then I was like, I think maybe my water broke. I wasn't sure, so I just went into bed, and I went on Google. I'm like, okay, how do you know if your water breaks? I know that these are the things that I should have probably searched about way before that moment. But yeah, I went on Google and I was like, how do I know when your water broke? And Google was just like, okay, sometimes it's like an obvious case where your water just gushes out, and you will definitely know that your water broke. But sometimes it's just like droplets that are just like gonna come very slow and not too obvious, so it might leave you confused, and then I'm like, okay, I think maybe I'm experiencing that. And then there was this other website that's like, if you want to test if your water broke, go on your bed and just be on your knees just be on your knees, and then if there's consistent droplets of like water or whatever, then that means your water broke. And that's exactly what I did. I went on my knees on the bed, and I could see, okay, it's literally like consistent. You can see the drops. It's not too much, but it was consistent. And remember that time, it's like 5 a.m, and I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm not gonna rush it. I'm not feeling any pain, so I'm not gonna like rush to the hospital or anything like that. Let me just sleep, and then I'll deal with this in the morning. And the reason why I was also delaying it is because I don't want to be at the hospital for an unnecessarily long period. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to deal with it in the morning, because I don't want to find myself being there for too long. I just want to have my baby and be out of there. Okay, and then the morning came. I woke up, very relaxed. And I remembered, oh, there was this. Then I went to my mom. I'm like, listen, this happened. I think my water broke, but I'm not too sure. And then my mom was like, she was panicking. She was like, what do you mean you think your water broke? Because you should be at the hospital right now. And then we decided, okay, let's go visit your private doctor first, so he can check you and just make sure that everything is in order and that your water actually did break. And then we packed our bags, our hospital bags and everything, just in case we had to rush to the hospital right after. We went to the doctor, and then he confirmed. He's like, yes, your water broke. It's just not, the obvious kind of water breaking, but your water did break, and you need to go to the hospital. So then we rushed to the hospital that I was referred to or allocated to by the clinic where I would do my antenatal visits. And we got there, and I explained to them my water broke around 5 a.m. And I think this is now around, what time was it? 12? 1? I'm not too sure. And the nurse was like, okay, let me check you. She checked me. She's like, oh, but you're just like 1 centimeter dilated, and you say your water broke at like 5 in the morning. So she explained to me that that specific hospital only dealt with natural births, and she said that in my case I might have to be induced. And in the case that the induction or the me being induced does not work, then I might have to undergo emergency C-section. And she said they don't have the facilities to do C-section and all of that stuff, so they are going to refer me to another hospital that has those resources. So I was kind of bummed because I was ready to just be over it. Like, I was so tired, I was so over everything. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna refer you to Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital. I assumed that because she's taking me, or she's referring me to a hospital that has more resources or better resources to handle my situation, that means it's slightly better than that hospital. And that hospital was relatively good. It was clean. There was barely anyone in there. It was clean, and the nurses were nice, and I was happy, with it. Then they said, okay, no, we can take you to Rahima Musa. That's where you're gonna give birth. So I went straight there to Rahima Musa. I went there and I saw a nurse, and I told her my situation, that A, B, C, and D happened, and now I'm here. And then this nurse said, okay, don't worry, go wait at the waiting area. Guys, I kid you not, I was at that waiting area for about 5 hours. Literally, I was at that waiting area for like about 5 to 6 hours, and no one was saying anything to me. I don't know what I was waiting for or what I was waiting for, but they literally made me sit on that bench for like 5 hours. So within the duration of me waiting, I call my mother. I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to give birth here because they seem incompetent and they don't have that caring nature. I'm pregnant. How are you making me sit on a bench for 5 hours? That is very inconsiderate, and I was just not having it. And I said, I want to be removed from this hospital to a different one. And she was like, okay, wait, let me call your mother-in-law and just like let them know that this is happening. She called her, and then my mom-in-law called someone that she knows from the health department, and that person said, no, she mustn't move because Rahima Musa is one of the best hospitals that we have in the public sector. And then they gave me that feedback, and then I was like, but that's not what I'm witnessing. That's not what I'm experiencing right now. What are you saying? But then I decided, okay, you know what? It's fine. I stayed. My parents just came to deliver food for me because obviously I was hungry. But I had to meet them outside because COVID restrictions, So 5 to 6 hours later, the nurse comes to me, and then she checks me. She wants to check how far dilated I am. And I think I was like 2 centimeters dilated. And she was like, okay, you are 2 centimeters dilated. I'm going to check you again after 4 hours. Right? And then she said, go sit on that chair. It's a plastic chair, guys. Like a plastic chair. Right? And she said I must sit and wait for her until the next 4 hours. And this time, and like we were in a room that is filled with pregnant ladies that are sitting on chairs just waiting for their turn to be checked. And no one is getting allocated to any bed because there aren't any beds available. So you're gonna sit on that chair until you get checked again, and then again and again and again. It was the saddest thing ever. I felt so horrible. At some point I asked the nurses, like, can't you discharge me, because clearly like nothing is happening, I'm not feeling any pain, let me just go back home and then I'll wait for the real pain and then I'll come here. And then they were like, nope, you're already here and you've started dilating, so we can't let you go. And then I was like, I was so bummed. And during the period when you're waiting for your turn to be checked, there's like women that are going into labor, that are like screaming, that are doing funny things, and you're just scared and nervous that this is going to be me in the next few hours. Like you witness weird stuff, like there would be ladies who would be screaming at the top of their lungs and like begging for the nurse to check them because they're in serious pain, and all the nurses could say was like, shut up, you're making a noise, you're not giving birth now, you know, this is how it is and you need to deal with it, basically. It was so sad. Like the only time they would attend to you is if you're screaming loud enough, like if I don't even know what, because those ladies would like just they would check you, and if they don't see that you're about to give birth, like as in this second, then they're not gonna help you. And then fine, and then there was this one lady, actually a couple of them, that I witnessed that they were like in labor and they were feeling the pains and the baby was about to come, and the nurse checked them, and this lady was like about to give birth, and they told her that she needs to carry her own bags. Remember, when you go to the hospital, you go with your bags and your baby's bags. So they told her she has to carry all her bags to the delivery room and walk her there. That's when I was like, what the actual fuck is going on here? Sorry for the language, but that's when I realized that, like, what's going on in this hospital? So then, yeah, like she would take her stuff and then walk to the delivery room in all of that pain, and it was just bad. So basically that night I slept on the chair, and I wasn't the only one. I feel everyone that I found there from the moment I walked in slept on the chair. Some like slept on the floor, but majority of us, we slept on chairs. I didn't sleep that night. I was just sitting on the chair the whole night till morning because I was just not, like, the sleep was not coming. So the next day the doctor checked me in the morning, and she says, you're like, I think she said 2 centimeters dilated. So it was really not moving, like nothing was working. And then she said, okay, listen, I'm going to write you up with the people that we're going to induce, that are going to get an induction, that are going to be induced, and we're going to take you to the other ward that deals with that, with people who are going to be induced. And then I was like, okay, you know what, whatever. At this point I was like, you know what, be it to be induced, be it C-section, I really don't care anymore. I just want to be out of here. I just want my baby out of here. I don't want to be stressed. I want to keep positive. So I was trying my best to keep myself in like a good positive mood so that I can get through it. And as I'm waiting, you guys, as I'm waiting for my turn to be like taken to the ward that deals with, to be like induction and stuff, there was a lady that was in pain. I mean, obviously pregnancy and giving birth and all that process is painful, but like, I don't think it's something anyone gets used to. She was so much in pain and she was calling for the nurses. Remember, when she's calling for the nurses, there were so many nurses in that room, but no one was even giving her attention. Like, people, they would just continue doing what they're doing and whatever. And she was screaming for help. And one nurse was like, hey, when are you, like, shut up, and like was swearing at her and stuff, until this lady decided, she was wearing like a very long dress. This lady decided to like pick up her dress and she started pooping right there and there, like just on the floor with everyone there just watching. She started pooping, and the next thing, she gave birth. The next thing, the baby was on the floor while she was pooping, because the nurses just didn't give the nurses just didn't care. I don't want to use the word didn't care, but it really seemed like it at the moment, that they just didn't care. And to them, I feel like they do this every single day, to the point where the sensitivity of it all is not there anymore. You know, the heart for it is not there anymore, because they deal with it every day with so many people. So now This lady is screaming at the top of her lungs, begging the nurses to help her. She's in pain. She says she's about to give birth. The nurses are not giving her attention. This lady ended up giving birth on the floor. And that's when the nurses started like running and stuff. And unfortunately for me, I was on my way to the toilet. So when I was on my way, I just found her laying there with like her legs wide open, and I could see the insides, like her umbilical cord and the baby there, and there was so much blood. And I'm there like, what? This is gonna happen to me? Jesus. You know? I was just so like, I didn't even know what to do with myself at that point. I wanted to cry. And I was just like, yo. So finally the time came where the nurse was like, okay, she called us. It wasn't just me, it was me and a couple of other people. They took us to a different ward where you're going to get induced, right? When we got there, that ward was much better than the war zone I was from. You can just imagine how that one was. And yeah, that ward was much better. It was much more cleaner because that side, the hygiene was on -5. The toilets were horrible. They were bad. Where was I? Okay, now we're in this ward, and then I'm thinking, thank goodness, I'm gonna get a bed. You know what? I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna relax and calm down from the mess that I'm from. Only to be told that we have to wait for the beds are full in that ward, so you have to wait for someone to potentially give birth. Once that person is taken to the delivery room to go give birth, then one person who is in the waiting area will go in and get a bed. And that time I'm like number 10 on that list, which means I have to wait for 10 people to give birth for me to get a bed. So you can just guess right now, obviously that night I slept on the floor again. The previous night I slept on the chair, but the next night I slept on the floor because obviously not 10 people gave birth that day. So I had to then wait again, and still I'm not feeling any pains. Nothing is happening. I'm just feeling normal. I'm just going through all these things, the discomfort, the whatever you want to call it. I was feeling that and going through it, and I was devastated. I wanted to cry. I think at some point I did cry. So yeah, and then now it's day 3, the next day. And then I'm not feeling pain still, but then luckily for me, then I got allocated a bed because now I was next in line, and I got allocated a bed, and I was so relieved. In my head I'm telling myself, you know what, I'm gonna watch Netflix, I'm just gonna relax, I'm just gonna take my mind out of the chaos that I went through and just try and maintain positivity for my child's sake and not be stressed about all of this. I put my bags in the room I was allocated. I lay on the bed. I think about 15 minutes later, the nurse came in and said, I'm gonna come back with the stuff that whatever it is that they used for induction or to induced. She's like, I'm gonna come back and do that. Just wait here. Okay, I'm in bed. As I wait, I just hear, that's the sound I heard, and I was so confused. But then I felt water now running down my legs, and then I realized actually now my water broke. It broke for real this time. I mean, even that time it did break, but it was leaking. I don't know what, I think I'd just call it leaking because it was just coming out like that. This time my water broke for real, so that means there was no need for me to be induced anymore, because immediately when my water broke, then I started feeling pains. Also, I don't want to go into detail with regards to that and the pain and whatever, But that's when I started feeling like real pains. And I went to the nurse and I'm like, nurse, my water just broke and I'm contracting, I'm going through contractions. I'm feeling pain and all of that. And she's like, okay, just go back to your room. I'm gonna call a nurse to help you. So then I go on YouTube. I'm like, yo, I need to like see how I have to deal with this pain. And they were like, okay, you need to breathe in and out in a specific way, and that's what I was doing. I didn't scream, like I was just controlling my breathing, but it was painful to the point where, there was like 3 to 5 minutes in between the contractions. During that break where I catch a breath, I'm thinking, okay, let me go on the bed and sleep in this position so that when the pain comes, it finds me like this. And then the pain comes and it finds me like that. And then I'm like, this is not working. And then I'm like, okay, the next time the pain comes, it's going to find me standing. And then the pain comes and it finds me standing. And I'm just like, that's not working either. It was just chaos. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I can't even explain the pain because I don't have period pains at all. I don't even know how they feel like. So people say it's like period pains, but like times 100. But if I was to explain the pain, it's like you know what? I'm not gonna explain the pain. It's just painful, guys. The nurse came and was like, let me check how far dilated you are, right? Even though like my process was going so slow. And then she checked me. Sorry, I'm distracted. She checked me and she's like, after the water broke, she came back to check me 45 minutes later. So 45 minutes, during that 45 minutes, I was just going through the most with the pains. She came 45 minutes later and she's like, okay, let me check how far you are. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're 9 centimeters dilated. We are taking you to the delivery room as of now. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was like, thank God, because I'm going through it. And then, okay, I was taken to this room. I mean, luckily for me, actually, the lady that was helping me was a lot nicer. So she called someone to bring a wheelchair and to carry my bags. And I was like, would God do it? Because the ladies on that other war zone had to walk themselves to the delivery room and carry their own bags. But clearly this ward is a lot different. And I was grateful for that. So we rushed to the delivery room. I think I spent about 10 to 15 minutes in that room and my son was born. Like, I didn't even take time. I think it was about 3 pushes, if I'm not mistaken, and my child was born. Then they said, we're going to take you to like a waiting area where there's a bed. We're going to bring you a child where you're bonding and all of that while you wait. So I'm calling it a waiting area because you're waiting for the nurse to finish filling in whatever information that she has to take down of you, of the baby and everything. And then after, you'll be taken to the room where you're sleeping. But here was the catch. The catch is the room where they take us to go sleep after giving birth is slowly getting full. So not everybody is going to get a bed that night. So just picture it. You just gave birth, you're exhausted, you're in pain, and there's a possibility that you're going to sleep on a chair or on the floor again. And I was so annoyed because even the nurse that was helping me, immediately when she was done, immediately when she took me to the waiting area, she went to go deliver someone else because there's a need to do that. That hospital is so full. I think it's just too full. And the crazy thing about it that I witnessed is that it was more than 50% foreigners than it was national South African, which is crazy. It's crazy. But luckily for me, luckily for me, but unfortunately for the person that was next to me, she was, after giving birth, she was so weak. She was so weak to the point that she couldn't stand up. If she stood up, she was gonna fall. So that she needed emergency attention. but obviously the nurses weren't giving her that attention. She was sleeping in a pool of blood, but that meant that I get to get the bed, because there were 3 beds left and there was like 4 of us. My tripod is acting up. Yeah, there was for me, but unfortunately for the person that was next to me, she was, after giving birth, she was so weak. She was so weak to the point that she couldn't stand up. If she stood up, she was gonna fall. So that she needed emergency attention, but obviously the nurses weren't giving her that attention. She was sleeping in a pool of blood, but that meant that I get to get the bed, because there were 3 beds left and there was like 4 of us. So then eventually I was taken to the room where I'm sleeping, and I get to sleep with my child. And when I got to the room, the nurses made it clear that 7 o'clock sharp in the morning, you need to be out of the bed, because we need to now clean the bed and clear it up for someone else that is from delivering a child. So basically everyone in that ward at 7 o'clock sharp, you're expected to be out of the bed and sitting on a chair, so that there's enough beds for those who just gave birth and are coming to. It is just a mess, and that happened. So just imagine if you're not discharged that day, if you're there in the hospital for like 2-3 days, that means after giving birth, that means the 2-3 days you stay at the hospital after giving birth, you're sleeping on the floor or on a chair, because you only get the bed the night you gave birth, and other than that, nothing at all. And I definitely do feel that it's a very sad situation, and nobody in this world should go through what I went through. Nobody in this world should have to experience their pregnancy the way I did. It's a very precious moment, and to be quite honest, nobody deserved that. So luckily for me, the next morning I got discharged that very next day, and me and my son left at like around 2 to go home. But yeah, that is my story. That is my experience with public hospitals. I am extremely unimpressed with the service. I'm extremely unimpressed with the treatment from our public nurses, and the way they do things, the way things are run. Like, it's just unacceptable, because you're dealing with pregnant ladies, you know, it's like precious cargo that they're carrying that you need to handle with care, you understand, so that you deliver the baby in the most efficient and healthy, and I don't even know what words to use. But personally, I feel that nobody should have to go through what I went through, and that is my experience with a public hospital. I'm not saying that is exactly what you're going to experience, but my time at Rahima Musa was the worst, and there was not a single moment where I felt at least this was done like this. No, everything was inappropriate, and everything was just horrible. And my 2 cents would be that if you're planning to have a child, just make sure that your medical aid stuff are in order. And also, what I didn't know then that I know now is that if you're gonna like do medical aid now, you're gonna have a waiting period of like 9 months plus. So you need to get that in order, like probably a year before you even plan on having a child, so that things can go well for you. Or you can save up enough money to use private hospitals, of which is something that I thought about doing, because at some point towards the end of my pregnancy, I was like, you know what, I'm getting so anxious and I'm getting so nervous. I would rather just pay for good services, for quality service, and a happy delivery, you know. I'd pay whatever amount. I know it was like 30 to 50,000, if not more or less, I don't know, but I was willing to pop out that money and just pay. But then something in me just told me, you know what, just go to the public hospital. It's free. It's like, you're just gonna give birth and you won't ever have to go back there, you know. I just talked myself into it. But essentially I did want to just pay for the medical bills at the private hospital. So yeah, that is my 2 cents. If you're planning to have a baby, make sure you have your medical aid is in order. Do research. If you're going to go to a public hospital, you need to do your research as to which public hospital is bearable, because with my experience that was definitely in the gutter. So which public hospital at least has efficient service, at least has is decent enough for you as a pregnant lady to be in. But I would never ever recommend Rahima Musa to any living pregnant lady in this world. And that's that. Thank you for getting to this part of the video. You're a champion for getting to this part of the video. You can subscribe, and subscribe and share, yeah, all those things. Maybe perhaps God willing, I will find the strength to upload even more videos and be a frequent here on YouTube. But I really wanted to do this video. I've been procrastinating it for 8 months, and here I am now. I've done the video, and you never know what's next. Maybe I'll have another video to do. But thank you for watching, and cheers.